Alright, so just recently, the new frame for the next patch has been revealed, introducing the brand new Nihil amplifier, Nirvatia. That's right, the Nihil team will finally be complete. And get this, you can get Nirvatia for free through a limited time mission featured in this upcoming patch. On top of that, 50 of her inverse shards, her signature weapon, and her cub will be featured in the service shop. That means that not only do you have the ability to obtain the character for free, but you can basically have her fully kitted, while also upgrading her past SS without spending a single black card. It's actually crazy because in the last patch, Teddy Spectre was offered in the service shop, and then for this patch, we got an S-rank selector, and then for the upcoming patch, we get yet another free S-rank. And yes, I saw her moveset and I think it looks clean and really cool. The only issue I have with her is that she's an amplifier and not a unique role like the other two Nihil units, but yeah, for the most part, it looks like we are eating good. But at the same time, it sounds like people aren't exactly liking what they're eating. Well, that's not accurate. To put it simply, there's been some sort of discourse going around in the PGR community as of late. Now, you might wonder to yourself, why would anyone be upset about a free S-rank? And the truth is, on the surface, it may appear to be that way, but actually it has less to do with us getting a free S-rank and more to do with some deeper issues that has been brewing in, let's say, the post-Shapers Ripples era. So let's talk about it. Now, I don't usually make these kinds of videos, but I think it is important to cover this particular situation. However, this whole thing started in CN, and unfortunately, I don't know a sliver of Chinese. Luckily, there were a few posts out there that talked about this situation, so I think I got a good idea about what's going on. So here's the background of the conflict. Basically, a lot of anger towards Nirvatia stems from all the pent-up anger that has been built up from the last year surrounding the overall dissatisfaction of the current story arc, the rapid power creep, the quality of the Valentine story, and so much more. And all of this came to a breaking point the moment Nirvatia was announced, throwing the community into a bit of a frenzy despite us getting a free unit. And these complaints are not completely unwarranted. Like, if you're a story enjoyer of PGR, you may have noticed something different about the writing. You see, the current story doesn't carry the same vibe that PGR stories used to have pre-Shapers Ripples, at least in terms of tone or setting up a grand plan for the greater narrative. But it's not only that. Apparently people are upset about the story leaning more into having the focal character of the chapter be blatantly subjected to the age-old classic of simping for the MC. Now, I'm not completely opposed to the romantic stuff or even the MC glaze. You see, it was done back in the day, but it was much more subtle with a good amount of build-up and reasoning to make you think, yeah, I guess that makes sense. All the while not detracted from the main story. But nowadays, a lot of what's been going on seems to have a little bit more focus, and it's a little bit in your face as well. And it's also written to be very one and done, where we move on to the next wife of the month, creating this whole waifu bait perception. Wait a sec, we're experiencing exactly what's been going on with Wuthering Waves leading up to 3.0. And now with 3.1, where the writing feels somehow reminiscent to PGR's writing, it's like we traded writers or something. Guys, I think we just got woo-wooed. Look, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not opposed to the whole romance thing, and it's nothing new to PGR. Like, we got wedding coatings and all, not a huge problem. If Kuro decided to offer that I marry Luna, I don't care how many people she's killed, I'll totally say yes. But when it comes to integrating the romantic stuff in the main story, it needs to be treated carefully in a meaningful way, otherwise it can harm the quality of the story and the character's depth. But as people were already complaining about the current state of the story, the Valentine's Day event came in for this patch just to add salt in the wound. You see, this year we only get 8 new stories, each focusing on the latest frames, and the rest are reruns with zero continuation of those stories. Now, in CN, the reception was really poor in terms of quality, and they believe that this confirmed the worst about the current quality of PGR's writing. So imagine right after all that, the Nirvatia's teaser came in with the Commandant glaze, which carried the descent over to the announcement of Nirvatia for the next patch. And I just want to throw this out there, I think that this was a little unfair for the case of Nirvatia's teaser because it had proper build-up in the Godfall Revelation story, and it was a good teaser that showcases Nirvatia's obsession in her little fanfiction. But screw it, I guess. And Nirvatia's teaser wasn't the only casualty because it's gone to the point where the current writers are absolutely getting shit on, and people are calling for the rehiring of the Black Beacon writers who left Kuro. But you get the idea. People are very unhappy about the current state of how the main story was handled. And to a certain extent, I do agree that something needs to change about the writing of the story. I'm not saying that it's the worst thing in the world, I think the current story is fine, but it's not the levels of chapters like Cradle Parade. Now let's move on to the other issue that the CN community is up in arms about, power creep and the back-to-back 7S rank release schedule. So first, you need to understand that a good number of the CN community consists of whales who try really hard in the endgame content, and they tend to go out of their way to triple S plus all of their characters. And when it comes to power creep, it's frustrating to see all of that investment go down the drain when some new hotness walks in to take over, especially when it's within a short amount of time. And that track of having 7 back-to-back S ranks exacerbates the problem even more, which is why they want an A rank to cut in between the many S ranks, as it will help the longevity of the current meta units, giving everyone some breathing room. Plus, A rank units are fun and unique in their own way, as they tend to be more experimental. And then there's the case of resource drain on limited materials like PPK skulls and Hypertune materials. It's yet another character they would have to invest those materials into, even when a character is given to us for free. On top of that, we have a lack of changes to the endgame content other than score inflation. And look, if you are a casual and you can't relate to this situation, that's perfectly fine. But if you look at the big picture and the current state of how the meta is handled, those people's complaints aren't completely unjustified, especially for the spenders out there. It just sucks to see your money you spent on those characters be lost to the void because some new hotness just joined the party. And let's be real here, spenders are a valuable part of our community. We can't always rely on woo-woo money, it'll just make us look bad. Look, the problems that has been voiced among the community are very real problems that strike at the foundation of the game, and if you disagree with them, that's perfectly fine. But saying that we have a free unit and no one has the right to complain is something that I find to be ridiculous. Here's the thing, you can be happy about getting a free S rank, it is good, period. But at the same time, you can also be mad about the state of the game. The truth is that when it came to Nirvatia's announcement, things were already reaching a boiling point, especially when there's no direct form of communication from Kuro about these issues. Unfortunately, things got so heated that a lot of the messaging got lost in the mess of toxicity and the ridiculous narratives. No, there is no civil war, and no, many of these people are not unreasonable. The thing is that Nirvatia wasn't randomly chosen to be caught in the crossfire, she got hit because she was mostly emblematic of the biggest pain points of PGR. With all that said, I do agree with some of the issues that people are complaining about over in CN, and I am a little worried about the current state of the game. Personally, I don't think we're in a good place, especially after the whole Philo Tree situation and a bit of a mess up with the Steam release. But at the same time, I am still very much excited about Nirvatia, especially with the fact that she's free. And yeah, that's all I have to say on this matter. Now, I know I was mostly tackling the surface level stuff surrounding this situation since there's a lot more nuance to explore, like the state of combat for the newer frames released and all that, but I was really short on time in making this video. And my true goal in talking about this was to at least give this situation a little bit of a spotlight, since it appears that Global doesn't mostly seem to be aware over what's going on the other side. And I kind of don't want this whole thing to be swept under the rug, since I think some of what people are upset about are things Kuro should probably look into. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to say about this. So thanks for watching, do leave a like if you liked the video and maybe subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!